The rain hammered against the garage windows like angry fists, and I was elbow-deep in a transmission that had seen better decades when I heard voices cutting through the storm. My wife Tara and our 16-year-old daughter Olivia were going at it again, their argument drifting through the cracked window of our kitchen above. "Mom says you're just too boring." Olivia's voice carried that particular teenage venom she'd perfected. "She needs a man who gives her fun, not some grease monkey who can't even keep the lights on." I froze, my wrench halfway to the bolt I'd been working on. Boring? Guess the secret to happiness was always abs and spray tan, not oil-stained wallets. My name is Eddie Ford, and I've been fixing cars in this riverside city for 20 years. The place used to have character. Steel mills, honest work, people who knew their neighbors. Now it's all gentrified coffee shops and marketing firms, the kind of place where my calloused hands mark me as something less than respectable. Tara fits right into that new world. I apparently don't. The voices above got quieter, but the damage was done. I wiped my hands on a rag and tried to focus on the transmission, but my mind was spinning faster than a busted flywheel. When had I become the joke in my own marriage? 3 days later, I found out just how much of a joke I really was. I was doing laundry, something Tara claimed she was too busy for these days, when I felt something hard in the pocket of her designer jeans. A phone. Not her regular iPhone, but a cheap burner with a cracked screen and no case. My hands shook as I powered it on. The password screen appeared, and on a whim, I tried Olivia's birthday. It opened. The messages hit me like a sledgehammer to the chest. Dozens of them, all from someone named Nick the Trainer, with a contact photo showing a guy who looked like he'd been carved from a protein shake commercial. "Can't wait to see you tonight, beautiful. Hotel room 237 at the Riverside Inn. Your husband still clueless? Good. Keep it that way until after our trip. Booked the Caribbean resort. 7 days of paradise, just you and me." I scrolled through weeks of messages, each one twisting the knife deeper. Photos I won't describe, plans I couldn't believe, and worst of all, conversations about me. "Eddie's so pathetic," one message from Tara read. "He actually thinks I'm working late. The man hasn't suspected a thing in 6 months." Nick's response made my stomach turn. "Poor bastard. When are you going to put him out of his misery?" "After the vacation. I'll file for divorce and take him for everything. My lawyer says the shop alone is worth enough to set us up nice." I sat on the laundry room floor for an hour, reading every message, memorizing every detail. The Caribbean trip was booked for next month. Tara had told me it was a work conference in Chicago. She'd even shown me fake brochures. Before we deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. But here's the thing about being underestimated your whole life. You learn to pay attention. You notice things. And right then, surrounded by dirty laundry and the smell of fabric softener, I started noticing everything. The way Tara had been dressing differently. New lingerie that I never saw. Gym memberships she claimed were for stress relief. Late nights at the office that coincided perfectly with Olivia's sleepovers at friends' houses. My sister Penny worked at Tara's marketing firm as an accountant. She'd mentioned that Tara's friend Lila had been asking strange questions about my business, my assets, even my daily routine. At the time, I'd thought it was just small-town nosiness. Now I realized it was reconnaissance. I put the phone back exactly where I'd found it and finished the laundry like nothing had happened. But something had changed in me, something fundamental. The Eddie Ford who'd walked into that laundry room was a trusting husband and father. The one who walked out was someone else entirely. That night at dinner, I watched Tara lie to my face with the skill of a professional con artist. "How was work, honey?" I asked, cutting into the meatloaf she'd picked up from the deli and reheated. "Exhausting," she sighed, not meeting my eyes. "The Peterson campaign is consuming my life. I might have to work late again tomorrow." "Tomorrow's Friday," I pointed out. "Maybe you should take the weekend off." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You wouldn't understand, Eddie. Some of us have careers that require more than turning wrenches." Olivia smirked from across the table. "Dad, maybe you should get a real job. Then Mom wouldn't have to work so hard." I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. When had she become so cruel? When had I become the enemy in my own home? "You're right," I said quietly. "Maybe I should make some changes." Tara's head snapped up, and for just a moment, I saw something like panic in her eyes. "What kind of changes?" "Oh, nothing dramatic," I said, taking another bite of meatloaf. "Just thinking about expanding the business. Maybe it's time I started paying more attention to the details." The next morning, I called in sick to my own shop and did something I'd never done before. I followed my wife. Tara left the house at 8:30, dressed in an outfit that probably cost more than most people's rent. She drove her BMW to the office building downtown, but instead of going inside, she circled around to the parking garage. I waited in my pickup truck across the street, feeling like a character in one of those detective shows Tara used to watch before she got too sophisticated for television. At 9:15, a red Camaro pulled into the garage. Even from a distance, I could see the driver match the photo from the phone. Nick the trainer in all his spray-tanned glory. I gave them 5 minutes, then walked into the garage like I belonged there. The BMW was parked in a corner spot, and through the rear window I could see two figures that definitely weren't discussing quarterly reports. My first instinct was to confront them right there, to bang on the window and demand explanations. But that's what the old Eddie would have done. The boring, predictable Eddie who never saw anything coming. The new Eddie had a better idea. I walked back to my truck and grabbed my tire repair kit. Nick's Camaro was parked in a visitor's spot, probably chosen for a quick getaway. I knelt beside the rear tire and carefully worked a roofing nail into the sidewall, angling it so it wouldn't be noticed until the tire went flat. Then I wrote a note on the back of a parking violation form I'd grabbed from the security desk. "Enjoy the ride, Slick. A concerned citizen." I tucked it under his windshield wiper and walked away, feeling something I hadn't experienced in years. Control. The security camera in the corner caught everything, of course. I even waved at it on my way out. That afternoon, Tara came home in a mood that could have stripped paint. She slammed the front door hard enough to rattle the windows and stomped into the kitchen where I was making coffee. "Did you go downtown today?" she demanded, her face flushed with anger or embarrassment. Maybe both. Downtown. I stirred sugar into my mug with deliberate slowness. Why would I go downtown? Someone vandalized a car in my office garage. The security footage shows a man in coveralls who looks just like you. I took a sip of coffee and shrugged. A lot of guys wear coveralls in this city, Tara. Comes with having actual jobs. Her eyes narrowed. "This isn't funny, Eddie. If you're having me followed." "Followed?" I raised an eyebrow. "Why would I have you followed? Don't you just go to work and come home?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Tara opened her mouth, closed it, then turned and walked away without another word. That evening, she claimed she had a headache and went to bed early. I waited until I heard her shower running, then checked the burner phone again. The messages were frantic. "Someone knows," Nick had written. "Got my tire slashed," and a threatening note. "Calm down," Tara had replied. "It's probably just random vandalism." "Random vandalism doesn't leave notes, babe. Someone's on to us. Even if Eddie suspects something, he's too weak to do anything about it. Just lay low for a few days." Too weak. The words echoed in my head as I put the phone back and climbed into bed next to my wife. She pretended to be asleep, but I could feel the tension radiating from her like heat from an engine. The next morning brought a phone call that changed everything. "Eddie?" It was my sister Penny, and she sounded worried. "Can you meet me for coffee? There's something you need to know." We met at Murphy's Diner, a greasy spoon that hadn't changed since the 1980s. Penny looked tired, her usually perfect makeup smudged like she'd been crying. "I should have told you sooner," she began, stirring her coffee with shaking hands. "But I wasn't sure, and I didn't want to cause problems if I was wrong." "Told me what?" "About Tara and Lila Grant from the office." Penny took a deep breath. "They've been planning something, Eddie. I've seen the emails, heard the conversations. Tara's going to clean you out in the divorce." "What divorce?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "The one she's filing next month, after her business trip to Chicago." Penny's voice cracked. "Only it's not Chicago, is it? It's somewhere tropical with that trainer guy." I nodded slowly. "How long have you known?" "Suspected for months. Knew for sure last week when I saw Lila printing out financial documents from your business accounts. She's been helping Tara build a case that you're hiding assets." "Am I?" Penny almost smiled. "Eddie, you're so honest it hurts. You claim every penny on your taxes and keep receipts for coffee. But they're going to make it look like you've been skimming from the business to fund some kind of gambling habit." "Gambling?" "Lila's been documenting your trips to Murphy's Tavern, making them look like visits to some underground poker game. She's got photos, timestamps, even fake witness statements." I felt something cold settle in my chest. Why would Lila do this? I barely know the woman. Penny looked uncomfortable. "Remember 3 years ago when that accountant at the firm got fired for embezzling?" "Yeah, some guy named Peterson or something." "It wasn't a guy, Eddie. It was Lila's boyfriend, Marcus. And he didn't get fired. He got arrested. The evidence that led to his arrest came from an anonymous tip to the company hotline." The pieces clicked into place. "You think I made that call?" "I know you did. I was there when you saw him skimming from the charity accounts. You said someone needed to speak up for the kids who weren't getting their donations. I remembered now. A Christmas party at Tara's office, too much wine, and a glimpse of financial records that didn't add up. I'd made the call because it was the right thing to do, never thinking about consequences. So this whole thing, the affair, the divorce, the financial investigation, it's all revenge? Lila's revenge, but Tara's greed. They're using each other, and you're caught in the middle. I finished my coffee and stood up. Not anymore. Eddie, what are you going to do? I looked at my sister, the only family member who'd ever really had my back, and smiled. I'm going to give Tara exactly what she asked for. Which is? Fun. That afternoon, I made some phone calls. The first was to my lawyer, a sharp woman named Janet who'd handled my business incorporation years ago. Eddie, good to hear from you. What can I do for you? I need to know about protecting assets in a divorce. There was a pause. Is everything all right at home? Let's just say I want to be prepared. Hypothetically, if someone was planning to divorce me and claim I was hiding money, what would be the best way to protect myself? Documentation. Bank records, business receipts, tax returns. Make sure everything's clean and traceable. And Eddie, if this isn't hypothetical, you might want to consider securing your assets legally before any papers get filed. What do you mean? Joint accounts can be drained by either party. Business assets can be frozen during proceedings. If you're legitimately concerned about financial manipulation, there are steps we can take to protect you. I thanked Janet and hung up, then made my second call to the bank. Mr. Ford, how can we help you today? I'd like to move some money around. Make sure my business accounts are secure. Of course. What kind of changes are you looking to make? By the end of the day, I'd moved the majority of our joint savings into a business account that only I controlled, completely legal since the money had come from my shop's profits. I'd also canceled Tara's credit cards and removed her as an authorized user on my accounts. The fireworks started that evening. Eddie, Tara's voice could have shattered glass. What did you do to my credit cards? I looked up from the newspaper I was reading. What about them? They're not working. I tried to buy gas and the card was declined. That's weird. Maybe you should call the company. I did call them. They said the accounts were closed by the primary card holder. I folded the newspaper carefully. Must be some kind of mistake. Don't play dumb with me. Tara was practically vibrating with rage. You did this because of yesterday, didn't you? Because of that stupid vandalism thing? I don't know what you mean. Fix it, Eddie. Fix it right now. Or what? I stood up slowly, and something in my voice made her take a step back. You'll leave me, file for divorce, take me to court? The color drained from her face. I never said anything about divorce. No, you didn't. But other people did. Before she could respond, I walked out of the room, leaving her standing in the kitchen with her mouth hanging open. That night, I heard her on the phone in the bathroom, whispering frantically to someone, probably Nick, maybe Lila, planning their next move in a game they didn't realize had already changed. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, and thought about the Caribbean resort reservation I'd found on the burner phone. 7 days, all-inclusive, booked under Tara's name with her credit card information, the credit card that no longer existed. This was going to be interesting. The next few days passed in a strange kind of peace. Tara stopped speaking to me directly, communicating only through Olivia when absolutely necessary. My daughter had fully chosen sides, treating me like a stranger who happened to live in the same house. Mom needs money for groceries, Olivia announced on Thursday morning, not looking up from her phone. There's money in the household account, I replied, buttering my toast. She says that account isn't working either. I took a bite of toast and chewed thoughtfully. That's strange. Maybe she should get a job. Olivia's head snapped up. She has a job. Does she? Because last I checked, marketing executives make enough money to buy their own groceries. You're being mean. I'm being practical. Your mother is a grown woman with a college degree and 20 years of work experience. I'm sure she can figure out how to feed herself. That afternoon, Penny called with an update. Lila's been asking questions about your recent bank activity, she said. She seems panicked about something. What kind of questions? Whether you've been moving money around, closing accounts, that sort of thing. She also asked if I thought you were planning to leave town. I laughed. Leave town? This is my home, Penny. I'm not going anywhere. But Tara might be? Oh, I'm counting on it. That evening, I made another call to the resort in the Caribbean. The customer service representative was cheerful and helpful. Mr. Ford, how can I assist you today? I'm calling about a reservation under my wife's name, Tara Ford. I'd like to upgrade the booking. Let me pull that up for you. Yes, I see the reservation. 7 nights in our standard Ocean View suite. I'd like to upgrade to the presidential suite. Money's no object. Wonderful. The presidential suite is $3,500 per night, plus taxes and fees. Would you like to add any additional services? Everything you've got. Spa treatments, private dining, helicopter tours, deep-sea fishing. My wife deserves the best. This is so romantic. She's going to love the surprise. Oh, she's going to be very surprised. By the time I finished the call, Tara's vacation had gone from expensive to astronomical. The new total was over $40,000, all charged to credit cards that no longer existed. The resort would discover the payment problem when they tried to process the final charges, which would happen exactly 24 hours after Tara's arrival. Just enough time for her to settle in and start enjoying herself before reality hit. Friday night brought the confrontation I'd been expecting. I was in the garage working on a classic Mustang restoration when Nick the trainer decided to pay me a visit. He walked in like he owned the place, all swagger and cologne. "We need to talk," he announced, crossing his arms to show off his biceps. I didn't look up from the carburetor I was rebuilding. "About what?" "About you harassing me and Tara." "Harassing you?" I set down my wrench and turned around slowly. "How exactly am I harassing you?" "The tire slashing, the threatening notes, whatever you did to mess with her credit cards. It stops now." I wiped my hands on a rag and studied him. He was bigger than me, younger, probably stronger. But there was something in his eyes that told me he'd never been in a real fight, never had to earn anything the hard way. "You know what's funny, Nick?" I said conversationally. "You think this is about you. Isn't it? Not even close. This is about my wife lying to me, stealing from me, and planning to destroy my life. You're just the entertainment." His face flushed red. "Tara loves me, old man. She's done with you and your pathetic little life." "Maybe she is. But here's the thing about love, Nick. It's expensive. And right now, neither of you can afford it." "What's that supposed to mean?" I smiled and picked up my wrench again. "I guess you'll find out next week in paradise." He stood there for another minute, trying to think of something intimidating to say. Finally, he settled for, "Stay away from us, or you'll regret it." "I'm already regretting plenty," I said, "but not what you think." After he left, I called Penny. "How would you like to help me with a little project?" "What kind of project?" "The kind that involves your computer skills and access to the office booking system." Penny was quiet for a moment. "Eddie, I could lose my job." "You could, but Lila's going to fire you anyway once this whole thing comes out. She can't afford to have a witness around." "What do you need me to do?" I told her, and after a long pause, she agreed. The next morning, Tara received a very official-looking email from her company's travel department. "Congratulations," it read. "You've been selected for our exclusive executive retreat program. Due to a last-minute cancellation, we have premium vacation packages available at deeply discounted rates. These luxury getaways are normally reserved for our top-tier clients, but we're offering them to valued employees at cost." The email included links to several Caribbean resorts, including the one where Tara already had a reservation. According to the promotional material, she could upgrade her existing booking and add companions at a fraction of the normal price. All she had to do was confirm her attendance and provide payment information by Sunday. I watched Tara read the email over breakfast, saw her eyes light up with greed and opportunity. She immediately started texting, probably sharing the amazing deal with her friends and, of course, Nick. By Sunday afternoon, 6 people had booked upgraded packages to the same resort: Tara, Nick, Lila, and 3 other members of their social circle. The total cost was over $200,000, all charged to credit cards that would be declined within hours of their arrival. But they wouldn't know that until they were already on the island, already checked in, already committed. Sunday evening, Tara was practically glowing with excitement. "I have to travel for work this week," she announced at dinner, not quite meeting my eyes. "Where to?" I asked. "Chicago. Big client presentation." "Sounds important. When do you leave?" "Tomorrow morning. I'll be gone for a week." I nodded and took another bite of my pasta. "Well, have fun." Something in my tone made her look at me sharply, but I just smiled and continued eating. That night, she packed her suitcase with clothes that definitely weren't meant for business meetings. Bikinis, sundresses, sandals. She even threw in the new lingerie I'd been pretending not to notice. I lay in bed, listening to her move around the room, and felt something that might have been sadness. 20 years of marriage, and it had come to this. Lies, betrayal, and elaborate revenge schemes. But then I remembered the messages on that burner phone, the casual cruelty in her words, the way she'd been planning to destroy me while smiling to my face every morning. The sadness hardened into something else entirely. At 6 in the morning, I drove Tara to the airport. She was nervous, chattering about the presentation and the client, and how important this trip was for her career. "Eddie," she said as I pulled up to the departure curb, "I want you to know that whatever happens, I never meant to hurt you." I looked at her, really looked at her, for what I knew would be the last time as my wife. "I know exactly what you meant, Tara. Have a wonderful trip." She kissed my cheek, grabbed her suitcase, and walked into the terminal without looking back. I sat in the pickup truck for a few minutes, watching planes take off through the morning haze. Then I drove home to wait for the phone calls to start. The first call came Tuesday afternoon while I was installing a new transmission in a Ford pickup. I let it go to voicemail, then listened to Tara's increasingly frantic message. "Eddie, there's been some kind of mistake with the hotel charges. My credit cards aren't working, and they're saying I owe thousands of dollars. Call me back as soon as you get this." I deleted the message and went back to work. The second call came an hour later. This time I answered. "Eddie, thank God. You have to help me. There's been a huge misunderstanding with the resort billing and—" "Slow down, Tara. Where are you?" "I'm in the Caribbean, at the resort. But that's not important right now. They're saying my credit cards are maxed out and they want payment for all these services I never ordered." "What kind of services?" "Helicopter tours, private dinners, spa treatments, deep-sea fishing. Eddie, the bill is over $40,000. I whistled low. "That's a lot of money for a business trip." There was a long pause. "What?" "I said that's expensive for a work conference. Are you sure you're in Chicago?" Eddie, I can explain everything." "I'm sure you can. But first, tell me about Nick." Another pause, longer this time. "Who?" "Nick the trainer. You know, the guy whose tire I flattened in your office parking garage. The one you've been texting for 6 months?" I heard her breath catch. "Eddie, how did you—" "Find out?" "Tara, I've known about everything for weeks. The affair, the divorce plans, Lila's little revenge scheme, all of it." "Then why didn't you say something?" "Because I wanted to see how far you'd go. Turns out, pretty far." "Eddie, please. I made a mistake, but we can fix this. We can work it out." "Can we?" "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're on vacation with your boyfriend and your friends, living it up on credit cards that don't exist anymore." "What do you mean they don't exist?" "I canceled them, Tara. Closed the accounts, moved the money, protected the assets. Everything you and Lila were planning to steal from me is now safely out of reach." The silence stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. Finally she spoke, and her voice was different. Harder, more desperate. "You can't do this to me, Eddie. I'm your wife." "Are you?" "Because wives don't usually plan to destroy their husbands' lives while pretending to love them." "I never said I was going to destroy your life. No, you just said I was pathetic and weak. You said I deserved what was coming. You said you couldn't wait to take me for everything I was worth." "How do you know what I said?" "The burner phone, Tara. I've been reading your messages for weeks." Another long pause. Then, "Eddie, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But right now I need you to help me. They won't let us leave the resort until the bill is paid." "Us?" "Me and my friends." "Your friends, including Nick?" "Yes. The same Nick who called me a pathetic old man and threatened me in my own garage?" "Eddie, please. No." "What do you mean, no?" "I mean, no, I won't help you. No, I won't pay your bills. No, I won't pretend this is all some big misunderstanding. You wanted fun, Tara. You said I was too boring, too poor, too pathetic to give you the excitement you deserved. Well, congratulations. You're having an adventure." "They're threatening to call the police." "Good. Maybe you can explain to them why you're using stolen credit card information." "It's not stolen. It's my name on the cards." "Cards that were canceled before you left the country. Cards that you used knowing you had no way to pay the bills. What do you think they call that in the Caribbean, Tara?" I could hear her crying now, and part of me, a small stupid part, almost felt sorry for her. Almost. "Eddie, I'm begging you. I'll do anything. I'll come home, we'll go to counseling, I'll end things with Nick. Just please don't leave me stranded here." "You're not stranded. You're free. Isn't that what you wanted?" I don't know what I wanted." "Yes, you do. You wanted to have your cake and eat it too. You wanted the security of being married to me and the excitement of sleeping with Nick. You wanted my money and his body. You wanted to destroy my life and keep your hands clean." "That's not true." "It's exactly true. And you know what the really sad part is? If you'd just asked for a divorce like a normal person, I probably would have been reasonable about it. We could have split things fairly, worked out custody with Olivia, maybe even stayed friends. We still can. No, we can't, because you didn't just want to leave me, Tara. You wanted to humiliate me. You wanted to take everything I'd worked for and leave me with nothing. You wanted me to suffer. Eddie, well, now you know how that feels. I hung up the phone and turned it off. For the next 2 days, I worked in blissful silence. No calls, no texts, no drama. Just the familiar rhythm of engines and tools and problems that could actually be fixed. Wednesday evening, Penny stopped by the shop. The office is buzzing, she reported. Lila disappeared on some kind of emergency vacation, and there are rumors about missing expense accounts. Missing how? Apparently, she used her corporate credit card to book travel for herself and some friends. When accounting tried to process the charges, they discovered the trips were personal, not business-related. That's unfortunate. Eddie, did you know she was going to do that? I shrugged. I might have mentioned the amazing travel deals in casual conversation. You know how word spreads in an office. Penny shook her head. She's going to be fired when she gets back. If she gets back. What do you mean? The corporate card was declined too. Apparently the company froze it when they realized what she was doing. So she's stuck? They're all stuck. 6 people stranded at a luxury resort with a bill they can't pay and no way home. I felt a smile tugging at the corner of my mouth. That does sound like a problem. Thursday morning brought a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Mr. Ford? The voice had a slight accent, professional but strained. This is Miguel Santos, resort manager at Paradise Bay Resort. I'm calling about your wife, Tara Ford. What about her? Sir, there appears to be some confusion about payment for her stay. She's given us your number as an emergency contact and asked us to call you about resolving the billing issues. What kind of billing issues? The total amount owed is now over $60,000, including fees and penalties for the declined payments. Mrs. Ford insists this is all a misunderstanding and that you'll take care of the charges. Did she now? Yes, sir. She seems quite confident that you'll want to help resolve this situation quickly. I leaned back in my chair and looked out the window at the city I'd never left, the place where I'd built my life one honest day at a time. Mr. Santos, let me ask you something. In your experience, when someone uses canceled credit cards to book a luxury vacation, what does that usually indicate? There was a pause. Sir, are you saying your wife committed fraud? I'm saying my wife used credit cards that she knew were canceled to book a vacation she knew she couldn't afford. What you call that is up to you. Mr. Ford, we need this situation resolved. If payment isn't received by tomorrow, we'll have no choice but to involve local authorities. That's your decision to make. But Mr. Santos, I won't be paying my wife's bills. She made her choices, and now she gets to live with them. I hung up and went back to work, humming an old song I couldn't quite remember the name of. That afternoon, my phone rang again. This time, it was Olivia. Dad, you have to help Mom. Hello to you too, sweetheart. How's school? Don't change the subject. Mom called me crying. She says you're being mean and won't help her with some hotel bill. That's between me and your mother. She could go to jail. That would be unfortunate. Dad! Olivia's voice cracked with emotion. How can you just sit there and let this happen? I set down my wrench and gave her my full attention. Olivia, what has your mother told you about why she's in the Caribbean? She said it was for work. And what has she told you about Nick? Silence. You know about Nick, don't you? That's different, Olivia said quietly. How is it different? You and Mom weren't happy. She deserves to be happy. And I don't? You never tried to make her happy. You just worked all the time and never did anything fun. So she decided to have fun with someone else while planning to take everything I've worked for? She wouldn't do that. Olivia, your mother has been planning to divorce me for months. She was going to claim I was hiding money, gambling, cheating on my taxes. She was going to destroy my reputation and my business to make sure she got everything in the settlement. You're lying. Am I? Ask her when she gets home. Ask her about the fake evidence Lila was collecting. Ask her about the burner phone and the messages about putting me out of my misery. Olivia was crying now. I don't believe you. You don't have to believe me, sweetheart, but you might want to start thinking about which parent has been telling you the truth all these years. I hung up and sat in the quiet garage, surrounded by the tools and machines that had never lied to me, never betrayed me, never made me question my own worth. Tomorrow, I would drive to the city's annual Founders' Day celebration. Tomorrow, I would stand in front of everyone I'd ever known and tell them exactly what kind of fun my wife had been having. Tomorrow, the whole world would know the truth. Founders' Day in our city is like a high school reunion that happens every year. Everyone shows up, everyone gossips, and everyone pretends to be happier than they actually are. This year, I had a special reason to attend. I dressed carefully that morning, clean jeans, my best flannel shirt, and the boots I saved for special occasions. I looked like exactly what I was, a working man who took pride in his appearance but didn't put on airs. The festival was held in Riverside Park, with booths selling everything from funnel cakes to handmade jewelry. A small stage had been set up for speeches and presentations, surrounded by folding chairs and picnic blankets. I arrived early and positioned myself near the front, nodding to neighbors and acquaintances like nothing had changed. But word travels fast in a small city, and I could feel the whispers following me like a wake. That's Eddie Ford. His wife's been having an affair. I heard she's stranded somewhere tropical. Serves her right, if you ask me. At 2 o'clock, Mayor Davidson took the stage to begin the official ceremonies. He thanked the volunteers, recognized local businesses, and invited community members to share their thoughts about the city's future. I waded through 3 speeches about economic development and 2 presentations about the new library. Then I stood up and walked toward the stage. Eddie Ford, I said into the microphone, my voice carrying clearly across the park. Owner of Ford's Auto Repair, lifelong resident and recent graduate of the University of Hard Knocks. A few people chuckled. Most just stared. I want to talk to you today about the cost of having fun, I continued. See, my wife Tara recently decided that I was too boring for her sophisticated tastes. She needed more excitement, more adventure, more fun. The crowd was completely silent now. I could see people pulling out their phones, some to record, others probably to text their friends about the drama unfolding on stage. So, Tara found herself a personal trainer named Nick. Nice guy, from what I hear. Really knows how to show a lady a good time. They've been showing each other a good time for about 6 months now, planning romantic getaways and discussing my many shortcomings. Someone in the crowd gasped. I thought it might have been Mrs. Henderson from the grocery store. Now, I could have confronted them directly, made a scene, demanded explanations. That's what the old Eddie would have done. But the new Eddie decided to try a different approach. I pulled out my phone and held it up so everyone could see the screen. This is a text message from my wife, sent 3 days ago from a luxury resort in the Caribbean. She's not there for work, in case you're wondering. She's there with Nick and several of their friends, including Lila Grant from the marketing firm. I read the message aloud. Eddie, there's been some kind of mistake with the hotel charges. My credit cards aren't working, and they're saying I owe thousands of dollars. A murmur ran through the crowd. The mistake, it turns out, was thinking she could use canceled credit cards to fund her romantic vacation. The bill, last I heard, was over $60,000. The murmur became a buzz of excited conversation. But here's the really interesting part, I continued, warming to my theme. This whole affair wasn't just about romance. It was about revenge. I told them about Lila's boyfriend, about the anonymous tip that had led to his arrest, about the elaborate plan to frame me as a tax cheat and embezzler. They were going to destroy my reputation, take my business, and leave me with nothing, all because I did the right thing 3 years ago and reported a crime. The crowd was completely engaged now, hanging on every word like I was telling the most fascinating story they'd ever heard. So when I discovered their plan, I had a choice. I could confront them directly, try to reason with them, maybe even forgive them, or I could give them exactly what they asked for. I paused for effect. They wanted fun, they wanted adventure, they wanted to live like rich people without actually earning the money. So I helped them do exactly that. I described the credit card cancellations, the resort upgrades, the fake travel deals that had lured their friends into the same trap. Right now, 6 people are sitting in a Caribbean paradise, unable to pay their bills and unable to leave. They're having the adventure of a lifetime, just not the kind they expected. The crowd erupted in applause and laughter. Someone shouted, "Good for you, Eddie." Now, some of you might think I'm being cruel, I said when the noise died down. Some of you might think a loving husband would bail out his wife, pay her debts, and try to work things out. I shook my head. But here's what I've learned about love. It's not about enabling someone's worst impulses. It's not about protecting them from the consequences of their choices. And it's definitely not about letting them destroy you while you smile and take it. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my wedding ring, holding it up so everyone could see. Tara Ford wanted excitement more than she wanted me. She wanted money more than she wanted marriage. She wanted to hurt me more than she wanted to love me. I looked out at the crowd, seeing faces I'd known for decades, people who'd watched me grow up, start a business, raise a family. Well, she got what she wanted, and so did I. I tossed the ring into the crowd like a bouquet at a wedding. Someone caught it and held it up triumphantly. The applause was thunderous. As I walked off the stage, people pressed around me, shaking my hand, patting my back, offering words of support and encouragement. For the first time in months, I felt like myself again. That's when I saw him. Nick, the trainer, was standing at the edge of the crowd, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. He was sunburned, disheveled, and wearing clothes that looked like they'd been slept in. I walked over to him slowly, the crowd parting like water. "Nick," I said pleasantly, "what brings you back to our humble city?" "The resort kicked us out," he mumbled, not meeting my eyes. "We had to take a bus to the airport and fly standby on the cheapest tickets we could find." "That sounds uncomfortable." "Eddie, look, I'm sorry about everything. I never meant for things to go this far." "What things?" "The affair, the lies, all of it. Tara said you guys were already getting divorced, that it was just a matter of paperwork." I nodded thoughtfully. "And you believed her?" "I wanted to believe her. She was amazing, beautiful, smart, sophisticated. I couldn't believe someone like that would be interested in someone like me." "Someone like you?" "A trainer from the wrong side of town who never went to college." Despite everything, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. "Nick, let me give you some advice. When someone tells you their marriage is over, but they're still living with their spouse, still sharing a bed, still wearing their wedding ring, they're lying. I know that now. Do you? Because from where I stand, it looks like you're just sorry you got caught." His face flushed. "That's not true." "Isn't it? Because if you were really sorry, you would have ended things the minute you realized Tara was lying to both of us. Instead, you threatened me in my own garage and called me pathetic." I was angry. "At who? Me? For what exactly?" He didn't have an answer for that. "Here's what's going to happen, Nick. You're going to leave this festival, leave this city, and never contact my wife again. You're going to find a new job somewhere far away and think very carefully about the next married woman who tells you she's available." "And if I don't?" I smiled, and something in my expression made him take a step back. "Then you'll discover that I'm not nearly as boring as everyone thought." He left without another word, pushing through the crowd like a man running from a fire. I spent the rest of the afternoon accepting congratulations and free drinks from people who'd known me for years, but were seeing me clearly for the first time. It felt good to be the hero of my own story instead of the victim. As the sun was setting and the festival was winding down, I saw a familiar car pull into the parking lot. Tara's BMW, looking worse for wear after its long journey home. She got out slowly, like an old woman, and walked toward me across the grass. The crowd parted again, but this time the silence was different. Expectant, almost hungry. "Eddie," she said when she reached me. Her voice was hoarse, her face streaked with tears and exhaustion. "Tara, how was your trip?" "You know how it was." "Do I? Because I thought you were in Chicago for work." She closed her eyes. "Please don't do this here. Not in front of everyone." "Do what? Tell the truth? I thought we were past keeping secrets." "Eddie, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I made terrible mistakes, and I hurt you, and I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But please, can we go home and talk about this privately?" I looked at her, really looked at her, and tried to find some trace of the woman I'd married 20 years ago. She was still beautiful, still smart, still capable of making people believe whatever she wanted them to believe. But I wasn't one of those people anymore. "There's nothing to talk about, Tara. You made your choice 6 months ago when you decided to have an affair. You made it again when you planned to destroy my life for money. And you made it one last time when you chose to go on vacation with your boyfriend instead of trying to save our marriage. I want to save it now." "Now that you're broke and humiliated and facing fraud charges?" "What fraud charges?" "The ones that come with using canceled credit cards to pay for luxury vacations. I'm sure the authorities will be very interested in your explanation." Her face went white. "Eddie, you can't let them arrest me. Think about Olivia." "I am thinking about Olivia. I'm thinking about what kind of example we're setting for her. I'm thinking about whether we want to teach her that actions don't have consequences, that lies don't matter, that love means never having to face the truth." "What truth?" "That you never loved me, Tara. Maybe you thought you did, maybe you convinced yourself you did, but love doesn't plan to destroy the person it claims to care about." She was crying openly now, and part of the crowd was starting to look uncomfortable, but I wasn't finished. "You wanted fun, remember? You wanted excitement, adventure, a man who could give you the life you thought you deserved. Well, congratulations. You had 6 months of fun, a week in paradise, and all the excitement you can handle." I turned to walk away, then stopped and looked back at her one last time. I hope it was worth it. The crowd watched in silence as I walked to my pickup truck and drove away, leaving my wife standing alone in the gathering darkness. I went home to an empty house, made myself a sandwich, and sat in my kitchen thinking about the future. Tomorrow I would file for divorce. Next week I would probably have to deal with lawyers and police and all the complicated aftermath of Tara's choices. But tonight, for the first time in months, I felt like myself again. The boring, predictable, pathetic Eddie Ford was gone. In his place was someone stronger, smarter, and infinitely more dangerous to people who mistook kindness for weakness. I finished my sandwich, turned off the lights, and went to bed in the center of my own mattress, finally free to dream about a future that belonged entirely to me. The fun was just beginning.